The Central Bank of Iraq, CBI, reported that the value of its gold reserves increased in the third quarter of 2025, rising to 27. This represents an increase of 64%. Iraq is repatriating stashed gold from the Saddam era to bolster their reserves as these consecutive gold acquisitions. I told you what happened cannot be traced. I told you many months ago that they would be repatriating gold each quarter until they have all the stashed gold back in-house. No vote in Iraq yesterday for President Y. Deadline for the presidential election revealed. They sat down and had a big meeting yesterday. Then, first thing this morning, they came up with some BS. They gave themselves a deadline, even though they already had deadlines that were written in their constitution. But they gave themselves a new deadline of this Thursday. Lots of meetings still going on. Soudani has gone to Kurdistan to talk to Barzani about getting this thing finished. Once they finish seating the president, they will announce candidates for prime minister. Soudani is still in the running. Many still feel that Maliki could be the one. Lots of back and forth going on. They actually were working on HCL in some of the meetings today. Iranian politicians in Iraq are admitting you are about to receive a new exchange rate with a new formation of your government as soon as you get that president and the prime minister in place. Indeed, this is jumping the gun, and the Coordinating Framework Party are trying to take credit for something that does not belong to them because they know it's coming. They cannot stop it. That is capitulation on steroids. I do not see any possible way that Iraq is remotely close to full WTO accession. There are at least 11 countries that are well ahead of Iraq in completing all that is required, and only one that is projected to actually make it in time for a vote. That is Uzbekistan. Votes are only held at the ministerial conferences every 2 years in March. The 14th Ministerial Conference, MC14, will be held in March 2026. The next one, MC15, is not until March of 2028. I think it will be difficult for Iraq to even complete all required by March of 2028, but very possible. I have certainly put this low on my list as to having anything directly to do with the road RV. Right? I know there's been what looks to be drama of politics, but the monetary reforms, economic reforms, there's no stopping it. They're still moving forward. The politics side of it is always kind of an unknown. But in terms of large amounts of money, like hundreds of billion, hasn't stopped flowing. They haven't had any blowback from anyone when it comes to big money. Everybody's still moving forward. Let's get into the Kuwait syndrome aspect of this. Can they tell you before the rate changes that they going to flat out pull the OACT sanctions? Those are the last, final, remaining sanctions on Iraq. Hell no, they're not going to do that. Here's what they're doing. They re-reviewing Iraq right now to make sure they worthy of lifting the last final remaining OFAC E1 treasury sanctions so they can increase the currency value and go international. But what they're portraying in the news is instability and insecurity. They can't give you clues the rate is about to go up in value. This is the Kuwait syndrome. When you follow the facts through the means of their actions, you can gauge this so much better and accurately. $100 billion. Iraq's funds held at the U.S. Federal Reserve. This is what it's all about. They do want Maliki to get his hands on that $100 billion that's being held in the Federal Reserve. Trump has denounced support of Maliki if elected prime minister again. There are people in Iraq trying to prevent this. The news in the Middle East is saying Trump is losing control and Iraq is going to do what they want to do, and Iraq is in charge, and Iraq is this, and Iraq is that. You and I know that's not true. They postponed the session to elect the president for the second time. No president, no PM. As investors in the Iraqi Dinar, we keep remembering those words of stability and security that Dr. Shabibi told us must occur first prior to any reinstatement. So Iraq must have a stable government, and the country of Iraq must be secure from foreign intervention and conflict. Do you really think it is now and ready to move to Forex? Trump threatens to end Iraq's support over al-Maliki comeback bid tied to Iranian influence. This even made Fox News. Iraq is under pressure. A lot is at stake. Reforms are a coordinated effort. They're executing what they're doing. What they're doing is a deliberate approach, but they're doing it quietly. They're giving confidence to the gatekeepers, the WTO, WQ, BIZ, World Bank, all these different people. The World Bank is proceeding with opening a dedicated office in Baghdad, which confirms the bank's support for the government. Given that Iraq has taken excellent steps, and that they are ready to provide greater support in the field of joint cooperation with Iraq. Your Trump is going to rebuild our country, and he's going to start in the northern part of Iraq. In return, he wants to remove the CBI governor. It's not a bad thing to get rid of Maliki or Olak. The United States of America right now are in the process of removing Maliki and Olak because they are loyal to Iran, and that is too dangerous for the monetary reform. They shouldn't have been playing all these games. The evidence we have against them is bad. There's a chance for Sudani, but there is no chance for Ulak and Maliki. The government has been talking about local and regional development, activation of the private sector, establishing commercial, industrial, agricultural, and tourism clusters. Each and every single one of those is going to be a revenue stream from the private sector. That's what it's all about. It's about having a real effective exchange rate. They're going to support it through the private sector. That's what we've been waiting for. We're almost there. They've been implementing all of this strategy for so long. It looks like they've refined it in detail. I believe the execution phase is underway.